Silent Hill is a 47-year-old game series that never quite managed to retain the marquee value of a Resident Evil or even a Luigi Mansion. Its later era games are generally looked down upon as a sad shell of their former glory.
Safe now.
But were never noteworthily risible in the way that, say, modern Sonic games are. Apparently, they weren't able to settle into a steady stream of money-making content either, because the franchise has been decisively dead since about 2007. They kind of made a couple movies, I guess, and they made some kind of money or whatever, but regardless, people still talk about these games nearly 2 decades since they came out. Well, the first 3 or 4 of them at least. And it ain't because of the game mechanics or the high degree of difficulty, and for sure it ain't for the fucking game engine. Rather, it's the unique aesthetic sensibility and irreplicable atmosphere that have helped the original tetralogy to maintain a special place in the collective consciousness of the extremely online. People love to debate the meanings behind events in the story, the appearance and thematic elements of the monsters in the other world, and to ponder the ever-nebulous lore. Over time, though, all the original developers gradually moved on to other, less-known projects. Director Keiichiro Toyama has a new horror series coming out, Norihito Hatakeda went on to work for Kojima Productions, and Masahiro Ito has gradually perfected a recipe for something he calls fuck toast. And where are you going to find a more propitious pedigree than that? And Konami inexorably boiled all the mystique out of it, leaving a refined, mass-producible formula. They tried relaunching it as an action game, a railgun shooter, whatever exactly you'd categorize Silent Hill Downpour as. Around the time someone was eagerly announcing the involvement of Korn in a Silent Hill game is uncoincidentally around the time the series was winding down once and for all, put out of its misery at long last. Now, I'm not one of those people that lives to rage about diminished follow-ups to popular franchises, though. So what the fuck am I doing on YouTube? I would have loved to get another proper Silent Hill sequel or two, but we'll always have those first few special entries with all the creepy mystery and unresolved plot details that we get to appreciate forever. There's also the weirdo short films, the Book of Lost Memories scans that are still online. Yeah, you can take as deep a dive as you like into the lore details and the inspirations that inform the look and tone of the series. So whether you look at it as the Silent Hill trilogy or tetralogy or whatever, either way, it was not only lightning in a bottle, it's a great example of what you would call art from adversity. The series benefited early on from the holy trinity of a clear and realistic set of deadlines, a perfectly formulated team, and a big corporate bankroll with little oversight or interest into what they were working on. What was never meant to be more than a simple Resident Evil knockoff managed to metastasize into a lightning rod of cultural influences coming together to form something that's not quite like anything that existed before or since. Now, that vaunted second game ended up becoming something of the runaway cult hit in its own right, with by far the most memorable plotline and most recognizable monsters. Uncoincidentally, this was the only game to have all the monster designs be the sole work of a single designer. Well, speaking of which, poor Silent Hill 2 art director Ito Masahiro had to watch in dismay as his famed creation Pyramid Head slowly became the Pikachu of survival horror, being reduced to little more than a floating signifier. And you'd think the Moth Monster from the first game would have been a better fit for that role. And it's been a long-standing misconception ever since then that every Silent Hill monster has to be a symbol of some specific inner demon of the main characters. As pregnant with symbolism as some of the monsters may appear to be, sometimes Silent Hill monsters are just creatures. I think the design philosophy of those early games can best be summarized by Kenko's Essays in Idleness. And on the note of misconceptions, let's do away with the whole Centralia, Pennsylvania thing. According to, I think, the liner notes in the Silent Hill 4 soundtrack, it takes place in Maine. The whole ashes and coal fire element, I honestly don't know why they added that to the movie. I guess they just wanted an excuse not to have to film scenes in a normal, populated Silent Hill, like they figured it would ruin the mystique or something. Nope, forget about Pennsylvania. You don't even acknowledge the existence of Pennsylvania on this channel. What the fuck is a keystone anyway? The closest thing to a real-world inspiration is that the lakeside scenery was mostly modeled after those found in cities like Towadoko and Tazawako. Anyhow, there was never a big plan behind what ended up as the original tetralogy. Silent Hill 1 was a quick Resident Evil copycat, Silent Hill 2 was basically just a holdover until Metal Gear Solid 2 was ready, 3 was leftover assets from an abandoned arcade shooter, and 4 was an unrelated project that just happened to get retrofitted into being a Silent Hill game. After that, the flurry of cosmic creative fortune ran out, and the series was shuttled about between various disinterested external developers, and the attempt was made to hew a tentpole franchise out of this IP, thoroughly unsuccessfully. I mean, once the corporate side took an interest in the series, they decided to follow up Silent Hill 2 with a light gun arcade shoot 'em up. That's where their heads are at, man. Oh well, we still got 4 or 3.5 really good games out of it before our luck ran out. You know, man, much like with Sonic and rolling, Silent Hill is fundamentally a game about checking doors in abandoned buildings. Every game post 4 basically tried to replicate Silent Hill 2's formula, but they missed the point. There's a whole long list of cultural influences in these games. Literally, I'll link to it in the description. The only influence the post-Team Silent games have is Silent Hill 2. The self-referential cultural whirlpool claims another victim. Silent Hill is a spot in the same cultural sepulcher as The Simpsons, Star Trek, and a million other intellectual properties that have run their course. So like literally the week I was finishing this video, they did the Silent Hill transmission, or maybe they should have called it the Silent Hill white noise, am I right? So what did I think about it? Well, the only 2 things we got concrete information about were a remake of Silent Hill 2 and some kind of AR thing. As far as the remake, yeah, I'll almost certainly check it out, even though it's made by something called Bloober Team. Bloober Team. Bloober Team. It's at least somewhat reassuring to know that Bloober Team includes Akira Yamaoka and Ito Masahiro, so it'll be doted with love, but man, I think I might have been more genuinely excited for a proper remaster collection. Think about it, they could have even added high-quality versions of the making-of documentaries and the short films, maybe upgrade Silent Hill 1 with PS2-era graphics, or even retool the second half of Silent Hill 4 to be remotely playable. I guess a man can dream, can't he? Can't he? I guess I'm down for a horror game set in 60s Japan, but at that point, how is it even Silent Hill? It reminds me of this Taiwanese indie horror game called Detention, which is extremely good and reminds me somewhat of Silent Hill, so I guess my status on this is hereby established to be cautiously optimistic. And like all right-minded people, I am physically incapable of giving the first hot-crossed fuck about a new Silent Hill movie. But I mean, I guess some people are working during these economically fraught times, and that's a nice thought. I guess all this is to say, I'm impossible to please. Happy Halloween, everybody! Mwah.